gospel, light of the temple. Sword swing, killer live from the ghetto. The hood messenger, let them know hell's close. Black burial, the devil in a black cloak.
Yo, what is up? Welcome to the Street Gospel Podcast. I'm your host, Dave One. And this is episode number... Cam, what's up, man? 45. Good, you're on it. 45. Kick in the door, wave in the full... Nope, 45. If you got last episode 44 with Champ Calvary, man, that was a good one. I don't know. Well, I do know what it was. Champ's authenticity kind of just came through on like the audio, came through on the video. I think a lot of people just gravitated to him. I mean, I don't really do a lot of TikToks. Cash said that I had to do TikTok, so I said, all right. So I started uploading TikTok videos. So we're on TikTok too, Street Gospel Podcast, and that TikTok blew up of his little clip. Everybody shared it. I got a lot of great response. So if you didn't catch episode 44, make sure you check it out. Definitely a great episode. And all our episodes are up there. Street Gospel TV. If you go to any podcast platform, Street Gospel Podcast, just look it up. It'll pop right up, okay? Street Gospel Podcast. Or if you want to just go to streetgospelpodcast.com, we can look it up there too. But we're excited today. We have a guest here, and I got to play just a little bit of music. I wasn't sure what type of music she was into, so I didn't want to. I just put some lo-fi, chill vibes. We're kind of in the same realm, same circles, but we never met. I've been to her studio. She is an artist, multi-talented artist, not just a tattoo artist, but multi-talented artist. She is a believer. She's a wife, a stepmother. She does it all, and she was doing a piece of art. She tagged the podcast in it. And I was like, whoa, she tagged the podcast. Maybe she's interested in being on. So I shot the DM. She said she loved to be on, and we made it happen. So I want everybody out there to welcome to the Street Gospel Podcast, Miss Latisha Wood.
Oh, thank you. Thank you
How are you?
For having me. Oh, I'm doing great. This is so cool.
Thanks for coming.
Oh, thank you for having me. I watched your podcast Sir twice, introduced me. I got to tattoo Sir twice when he came out into town, and just fell in love with it. I love podcasts, and I definitely love a podcast that shares the love of God, and the testimonies that I've listened to so far have just been like incredible. Champ, I just watched and painted some more work on another piece I'm working on, and I just was like, wow. I had my husband sit down. I said, you gotta watch this.
It was a good one.
So good.
I didn't know it was gonna be that good.
Yeah.
I know his story. Obviously he's my cousin, but it was just I don't know where the podcasts are gonna go to, and so I come into the podcast, and this sound weird to everybody out there, but I don't have no expectation. I just come in and I just let it go wherever it goes. And then sometimes we end, and I'm just like, gee, like that was great. Or, it was just like, man, that was way better than I anticipated. It was just like, so it just happens. But
that's really cool.
Thanks for checking us out. That was great.
No, this is wonderful. I'm just in awe, and it's wonderful to find new believers, or it's fun to find believers in the industry that I work in, or around the industry that I work in, because that's one of my biggest prayers, is that God would come in and just grab a hold of all of us.
Is it okay? So in the tattoo industry, where you're mostly in right now, we'll talk about some of your other art, but is it hard to find like-minded people that just kind of believe what you believe, or just or at least open to what you believe?
No, I don't think so. I don't think it's hard to find. I think actually there are a lot of believers in the industry. I just think that a lot of believers maybe don't know, hey, I'm a believer, you're a believer, you know what I mean? You see tattoos of Jesus, you see scripture tattoos, you see cross tattoos, they're definitely iconic, right? but to actually have a face-to-face with somebody and to have a one-on-one with someone, that's when you really find out, what are the depths of your faith,
Right.
And that's what's really fun is connecting and finding and saying, oh man, I see you, I see the light in you,
Yeah.
And that's rad.
I think that's a really cool thing when sometimes you don't have to say anything. You can just tell.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's a great feeling. And
100%.
especially if you're a believer and you're letting your light shine, and maybe you're not, preaching on the corner or preaching online, but sometimes people can tell, like, hey, this person's different.
Most definitely. God is definitely, I've been so blessed, and I've definitely prayed for that discernment, is to just to feel the spirit in people, and it's been pretty cool, because I've had plenty of experiences where somebody walks in and you're like, that guy, he knows the Lord.
Yeah.
And within 20 minutes of conversation, there it is, So it's really cool. And I think mostly it's me that I've come to faith. So for me coming to faith, now it's like a discovery for me, because these people were already, believers. It's me coming to faith, and now I'm realizing, oh, wow.
Yeah.
You also are a believer, and that's really cool.
It's so funny because I think we were talking to somebody last time, and we were saying how being like a believer is like the new punk rock. Like
it is. You're the rebel.
Yeah, you're totally going against the grain now, especially in this woke society. Like you're a believer, or you have certain views. Like it's like, yeah, man, it's like you're totally like this outsider. Like whoa, you have those views. They're like, yeah, like what's wrong with that? Like you're just like punk rock now. You're not going with the flow like everybody else.
Yes, exactly. You're not following just the new trends and stuff like that. You're actually following what God really wants for your life, and sometimes that's not following the trend exactly. So and I'm comfortable with that. God has definitely touched my life, so it's very easy for me to follow the ways that the Lord leads me. So
where are you from originally?
Originally, I am from California.
You are? Okay.
Yes.
I was wondering about that. Okay.
I originally am from California, but I did live about 10 years of my life on the East Coast, which was wonderful. But California, because it was so rooted in me as a young kid, I always had that dream of living in California, being an artist, and living the dream. So I brought myself back, and here I am. So, but yeah, I'm from Harbor City. Well, I'm sorry, I was born in San Bernardino, and when I was about 5, my family moved to Harbor City. Grew up in Harbor.
Thankfully. No, I'm just kidding. San Bernardino's rough sometimes.
Hey,
it's rough.
I've learned a lot in the years now of living in California, what it is, but for the most part, my backyard was most of all what I knew,
Yeah.
Being a young kid, so.
Was art always a part of your life, even as a kid?
Yes, most definitely. I was born definitely loving art. My mom always said, the moment I picked up a crayon, I was drawing. So
seriously,
yeah. My dad was an artist. My mom was very crafty. So being an art was just completely saturated all of my time and attention, and thank God for it too, because it really did protect me, and it still does. Being enveloped into something that's really good for you and good for others is definitely a safe haven, right?
Yeah, I think especially when you're young, I think when a kid finds something that they're really good at or they really love, music, it can be sports, it can be art, it can be anything like that. I think it keeps them occupied, and it keeps them out of trouble, and it gives them, I think the biggest thing, I think it gives people an identity, right?
Yeah. It gives them something to shine. Like, my mom has always been my biggest fan, you know what I mean? And for me, I don't think I really even realized that I was really good until I had so many people telling me, oh man, that's great. I was like, wow, I guess I'm pretty good at this, as a kid, you're so in love with the markers and the paint. And I remember when I was in kindergarten, I remember running to the little paint area that they had, they'd put a little apron on you, and I grabbed the big old giant paintbrush, and I learned that if you put yellow and red together, you'd make orange.
Oh wow.
And I learned oh, you don't want to, then you don't want to go to purple because then it's going to get all muddy. So it's like, it's funny because I was learning this stuff as a little kid in kindergarten,
It just clicked.
It clicked for sure, yeah.
Were you a good kid?
I was a good kid, yeah. I had, I'm the youngest of 7.
Of 7?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. My dad had 2 and my mom had 4. And then together they had me.
Wow.
And I'm the youngest. So yeah, I was a good kid. I learned a lot from like, ooh, don't want to do that. Mom didn't like that. Don't want to do that because my brothers, and my sister and all them would get into different kinds of trouble. And I learned a lot from like watching and learning like, ooh, I'm going to be good. I'm going to get good grades. And I'm going to make my mom happy. Like that. I'm going to stick to that.
Right.
I should be pretty good. And I did well. I'm very fortunate.
Yeah, I think when you're the youngest, when I think about family members that are the youngest in the family, either you get away with everything or you learn from everything or you're just the baby throughout your whole entire life,
I was the baby for sure.
Okay.
My brothers loved me. They were the only ones that could tease me. They were the only ones that could pick on me. Nobody else could pick on me. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, wait a minute. If I go to you because he picked on me, but then when you pick on me, who do I go to?
Right.
But my brothers are great. I have wonderful, wonderful brothers. Definitely was very, very fortunate to have them in my life, and then grew into a male-dominated industries. That I had brothers too.
Oh, so that's what it is. So
That's
you're
what it
able
is.
to get the vibe and not be offended by guy talk or the way guys are. Like some
Yeah.
women get in that environment. I'm in construction.
Yeah, oftentimes I'm more comfortable around men than women. I mean, I love women, obviously. I'm a woman, and I love my sisters, and but I do feel very comfortable around guys and the guy talk and all that stuff. It's been a great wisdom I've gotten to have over
from the
years.
guys. Yeah, I think because there's sometimes I'm in construction, and once in a while we get a woman, and you can tell sometimes it's tough for them to get acclimated to the guys, and it might get they might lean towards, and then you could tell there's some women that they're kind of rough around the edges, and they're like they get the guys, and you ask them, and they're like, yeah, I got like 5 brothers, and I'm the youngest, or I'm the oldest, and I have 5 younger brothers, and they're kind of a little bit more easygoing, I guess you can say. They get guys a little bit better.
Yeah, the guys are easy,
Pretty much. We just want food, Just be nice, feed us, and
just want to be happy.
We're
and
good.
Have some laughs, some food.
If we're tired, we go to sleep. It's so. I think my wife tells me that she sometimes says I'm difficult, but most of the time she says, "You're easy." I already know what to do. It's fine. Just give you some tacos and leave you alone during the game. She knows me, so it's just like we're good.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. I've been very fortunate in that, and I can't thank all the men in my life enough, and and my husband 100%. Just so blessed. So
awesome.
Yeah.
So, how did you get started in art? I mean, I know you started very young, but what was like the first thing you said? I think I could make a career out of this, or I think this could be my job. Art.
Well, I was always really gifted in art, and I went to all the took all the classes. I did all the advanced placement classes. Wow. I did all anything my school offered. I was there. I've always loved doing art. And then when it came to the opportunity of going to art school, I really, really wanted to go. I knew that that's what I wanted to do. So I went to school. I have my Bachelors in Fine Art, and
nice.
Some of my best years of life were in college and learning art. I mean, you're fully saturated.
Where'd you go?
I went to the University of Hartford in Hartford, Connecticut.
Okay. Nice.
The Hartford Art School. And it was just great. I mean, you're learning all different mediums, wonderful mediums. I was an illustration major. I wanted to be a children's book illustrator, which I still would love to do.
Nice.
Still definitely one of my goals in life. But I would say that the realization that I knew that I was going to be a professional was we had this wonderful professor, Stephen Brown, and he was a great, great oil painter. And he told us, he says, 1 in 5 of you are actually going to make it as a professional artist.
Ooh.
And in that moment, I says,
you knew it.
that's me. What am I here for? I'm not going to school for nothing.
How many kids were in that class?
There were about 20 kids.
20
so
kids,
that was
so
pretty much four
kids.
4 of those kids were actually going to be professionals, and he was right.
Wow.
Because it's a hard life.
It
know?
is.
You have to really be willing to sacrifice all of your comforts.
Yeah.
To be able to actually do it, and you have to. You love the art. For me, it's so part of who I am and just the way that I was made that, I couldn't do anything. I wouldn't do anything else, at that time, right?
I think I know a lot of artists. I've been blessed to know them. There's times when I'm like, what are you doing? There's no art show, or they're not selling pieces, or maybe they're not tattooing, but straight just like artists that are doing works, and it's just like you're banking on this show being great, and you're gonna sell a bunch of pieces for the show to get you through maybe the next 6 months, and then sometimes it gets super slow, and I'm just like, that's a rough life.
It's a rough life.
I mean, you really have to. It's like a musician. You really have to love what you do to keep going.
Yeah. You have to be constantly creating but if you're enjoying what you're doing, constantly creating is awesome.
Yeah.
Like you're just how you are. So that I would say that was the moment for me that I knew that I was going to take it all the way, no matter what. And I mean, I think when I finally got out of school, and then it was like, okay, I got a great portfolio.
Yeah.
But I ain't got no job.
That's a tough part right there. Yeah.
And you're just, whoa. Like,
so where does the artist go with their portfolio?
You pretty much are a freelance now. Now you are a freelance artist, and you have to go and knock on doors. You have to find jobs, and
sell yourself.
You got to be willing to take jobs that, But the more skill you have and the more abilities that you have to be able to take on a job, the better you're going to succeed. But then also, having those people skills, right?
Right.
And being confident in yourself. So after finishing school, do you want to go? We're going to go this. Okay.
Yeah.
So after I finished school, I was doing I had different jobs. I was working at the YMCA, hanging out with kids at the YMCA. I was just enjoying that. I was helping out with I was an art school teacher at another school, like as a substitute kind of thing. And then I worked, I was also working at a restaurant, Italian restaurant. It was a horrible, horrible Italian restaurant. Nowadays, I probably would be great because I love the food and I love people. And I'm not like, I was like so afraid that I would spill something. But anyhow, I got this great idea that, I was watching the television show American Chopper.
Okay.
And I had watched their show before, and my brother had encouraged me to go, on the show because they paint motorcycles. They do these epic motorcycles. Anyhow, this is how I got into the motorcycle world. I saw this amazing artist, JB Graphics. He was doing beautiful, beautiful paint jobs on these motorcycles. He was doing the fire bike, all the gold leafing and stuff. I was watching him one night, and I was like, I could do that.
Did you have any background in that or family? Nobody.
No, but so the wonderful thing about this is that my dad, who I lost my dad when I was young. I was 6 months old.
Oh, wow.
My dad passed away from a drunk driver on his motorcycle.
Oh, wow.
But my dad was a believer also, praise God. And so I always had respect. I had a reverence for motorcycles whenever I saw them growing up.
So you
as
did have a
kid.
little bit of connection there because of your dad.
A little bit.
It's kind of something that was made a connection to. Yeah, because I always wonder, like,
how did you leave?
Yeah, like you're teaching school, and then you went to motorcycles. Was she into motorcycles? Was she dating a motorcycle guy? What was going on?
No, my dad loved motorcycles. I've got him tattooed here. I've got him. Franco did my tattoo. And
so good.
My dad on the motorcycle, but yeah, he passed away when I was young. He was killed by a drunk driver, and I just always had that string of heaven, right? That heaven string.
Yeah.
That was my relation to God then, was like, oh, my dad's in heaven. But as a child, you don't really know the full depth of it, but that's my understanding. But anyhow, when I got to watching these guys working on these motorcycles, I felt that string of heaven, and I thought, if my dad was alive, if I had grown up with my dad as a young little girl, I'd have been working in the motorcycle, or I'd been working in the garage.
Yeah.
Painting on, doing pinstriping. He used to pinstripe. He used to airbrush. He used to work on, like, tractor-trailer trucks. He was a truck driver the last few years of his life. But,
wow.
I was like, oh, maybe that's what I'm supposed to be doing. So I felt this giant, like, yes.
Wow.
This is what you're supposed to be doing. And I told my brother, I said, I think I'm going to go over there and show them my portfolio and see if I could start painting on some motorcycles.
Just like that.
And he was like, what, are you crazy? And I said, well, yeah, why not, So I did. I went up there. I managed to get in touch with their graphic artist. And he needed somebody that would do detailed painting on motorcycles. And I learned everything that I could learn, about painting motorcycles in the few years that I got to work there. And it was just so cool. The first motorcycle that I painted, I went back and I looked, and I wrote on the back of the motorcycle, it was the Liberty bike. And I did scripture on the back of the Liberty bike.
I remember that bike.
Do you?
Yeah.
I painted that bike.
Wow.
Yeah, I did.
Me and Cam used to watch that when he was little all the time.
Yeah, a lot of people don't really know because it's not really like...
The Tuttles,
The Tuttles.
Their arguments were great.
Yeah. God bless him, But I did the Liberty portrait, the little portrait of Liberty. Made $800. My first job. So cool.
And you were sold.
$100. I was like,
So was that airbrush?
No, that was actually hand painted. I wasn't quite getting into airbrushing just yet, but he needed somebody to do a little portrait. It was literally like he kind of was hiring me based on the job,
Yeah.
That was my first job. I got a little portrait, and then the next day he says, "Can you come back and do some lettering?" So I came back the next day and I did some lettering, and it was where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom.
Yeah.
I think it's 1 Corinthians, but it was so fun in knowing that knowing what that scripture really means, going back and going, oh my gosh, look at that, that's so cool.
So you were having little seeds planted.
Yeah, lots of seeds
here and there. Was your mother a believer? Were you guys raised as believers, or you were kind of just?
No, not really. My dad was a believer, and I think after my dad passed away, my mom, she felt a little bit like, kind of like it was tough, My mom when my dad passed away, my mom had like a lot of kids. She was a young mom. She's 26 years old. So, anyhow, but no, we weren't raised. My mom was always like, she believed in God.
Yeah.
But there was we didn't go to church or anything like that. I mean, I have some family members that are Catholic, so I had a little bit of Catholic,
some sense of God.
Yeah, like once or twice I had gone to church with my my grandmother, and and I would listen, but I never really had a full God experience or anything, or so till I was later.
And so you do motorcycles, and then what do you start? Do you start blowing up in that realm there?
Oh man, I took to it like so good. It was just like boom, I got my baby. It was like, it was so,
Your thing.
it was so, it felt so real and so natural and so good. And I did really good. I did. I painted motorcycles pretty heavily for about 5 years. And the show obviously like was awesome because people wanted to get their bikes painted by me. And this is where I got into the pinups because guys would hire me to do a beautiful pinup of their wife, and this is where I really discovered. Well, I was always good with the drawing people with my art background and taking figure drawing classes and stuff like that. But
So with figure drawing,
yeah,
just so everybody out there knows, it's like the hardest, right? Everybody thinks drawing a hand or foot or a face is super easy, but that is intense, right? If you do the hand wrong or the foot wrong or something, it just throws everything. It can just make it look like crap, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a skill you want to have. You want to be good at figure drawing because especially if you want to start designing and you want to start designing your own books or your own stories or your own characters, you want to be able to draw from your own understanding and your own knowledge so that you can say, okay, I want to make this person really, maybe strong, or I want them to have this kind of essence about them or, so you want to be able to get into that, but also them not look like a pterodactyl or something strange.
That always like amazes me with artists. I love art, and then when you can get the perspective right, like you like just I think I saw you did a Jesus, but he had his like hand out, and the way you put the hand and his face kind of in the background, but his hand is. Like you can tell it's an outstretched hand. It's not like a hand to his face. Exactly. It's an outstretched hand. And I was thinking, that is like the hardest thing for me to like get. Like, how do you guys do that? Like, it's so crazy. Yeah,
and that's the fun thing is just perspective and playing. And that's when you get into storytelling and stuff like that. And that's why with tattooing or even motorcycle art, you're getting into where you're telling people stories. And it's wonderful because when you can capture a person's, eye and get them to move around a piece, the way that you want, and you're really telling a story that they're going to connect with, and then even each person is going to connect with that story differently. That's a wonderful thing about art.
How old were you at this time? Were you fairly young?
I was fairly young. Yeah, I just got out of school, so I think I was about 23. I was probably about 23.
So you're getting some success early,
maybe. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've always been very willing to step out and try something different, try something new, and, just be willing to go on the adventure, And so I was very young, but I was very brave, very fortunate. My brothers, really raised me with a lot of bravery, and so
I would say to get your portfolio and say I want to do that, and go to the shop and say, hey, listen, I'm down. What do you got for me?
Yeah,
and being able to do everything. You mentioned that you did, painting, you did lettering. Yeah. There's certain artists that are just good at one particular thing.
Yeah, being versatile is really important, and I think too, like as I got into tattooing, you really learn very quickly that if you want to be successful, you need to learn to be versatile. And that might be learning from all different kinds of artists, all different styles, all different people, all different ways. But then taking all of that you've learned and really perfecting what you've learned through your own abilities, your own style, your own who you are, your own uniqueness, your own genuineness, what is it you want to share,
Yeah.
So
I think that's the biggest thing. I think people, especially in art, right? They tend to copy a lot,
Right.
I'm okay with copying. So everybody takes from everybody else. This in art, that's like the general thing,
nothing
right?
New under the sun.
Yeah, there's nothing new under the sun. You like. Yeah, I could see that. But taking that and then applying your own style or something new to it, I think that's what makes it different. Like sometimes you can copy this artist or that artist and make it look kind of the same, but something about getting your own style in there, that's what changes the dynamic there.
Yeah, for sure. And when you have your own style, it's very easy for people to go, oh,
yeah,
that's that's Big Sleeps.
Right.
That's Latisha.
Right.
Oh, that's Franco, you know, or that's Leonardo da Vinci, right?
Yeah.
You know, we've all enjoyed some of that Leonardo da Vinci art.
Right. Yeah. I mean, definitely you can tell right away, like, okay, I know I know what that is. I know who made that. I know art. You know, I like Basquiat. I mean, that's one of my favorite artists. And then I see newer artists, and I'm like, yeah, I can see the influence there a little bit. You know, it's kind of in the same realm.
Yeah,
but
you fall in love with artists. I feel like for me, I've fallen in love with artists, and you know, you're like, oh, I just love that. I used to love Alphonse Mucha for the longest time. I was like, oh my gosh, I love this guy's stuff. It's so ornate and it's beautiful and it flows, and you're like, oh. But I think eventually, as you get to be seasoned in your career or your life, you really are like, gosh, I just want to make something that is something that's from my story.
Right,
you know?
right.
So yeah, and it's wonderful being a tattoo artist, because what you get to do is you get to sit down with people and you get to go through them and talk to them and bring that story out of them and then put it on their body. You know?
So how did you get in the tattoo realm?
So similar thing with the tattooing was, well, I'll tell you the full story, which was I was working on motorcycles, and I got hired to do this awesome job from this radical guy, Larry, and it was called the Tattoo Bike. This guy was covered, beautiful tattoos.
Indian Larry?
No, not Indian Larry.
Okay,
I
I'm
wish.
just checking. I'm just checking.
Never got to meet the legend. But he hired me to do this job, and it was his motorcycle's 100th year anniversary. But anyhow, he was very much tattooed. He had beautiful, beautiful tattoos. And I said, wow. He sent me pictures of all his tattoos. He says, I want you to paint my whole bike. Do whatever you want. But this is the kind of stuff I like. And I said, wow. I was like, this is like your dream job, you know? You're like, wow, this guy's just letting me do whatever I want. He's going to give me his whole motorcycle, and he says, do whatever you want.
Wow.
Yeah. So I did, and I got to look at all his work, and then I says, wow, this guy's got some beautiful stuff. I didn't realize that you could do this level of tattooing on a person, you know? My exposure to tattooing was motorcycle, you know, shows and stuff like that. And I'd get a lot of motorcycle guys would come up to my my booth and look at my stuff and say, wow, you should be a tattoo artist. And I was just like, well, I don't know, you know. But anyhow, I did this motorcycle for him, and I got the motorcycle, a wonderful lady who was helping me out with some getting me into different shows and stuff like that. She says, hey, Latisha, what do you think about getting this motorcycle on Miami Ink? And I says, okay, yeah, sure. If you can make that happen, you let me know. And she does. She gets a hold of them. She says, what we're going to do is when you finish your bike, he's gonna meet you in Miami, and you're going to deliver him the finished bike, and he's going to get a tattoo by one of the artists there. Chris Garver was his artist. And he's going to get one of your designs tattooed on him. So it's going to be like this nice full circle, you know. So anyhow, that's what I did. We did all of that. And I remember standing on the beach in Miami, and I was like, I feel like I'm being called into the tattoo world.
Wow.
I feel like I should really like look into this some more. You know, I met the artists, and they were all wonderful and amazing.
Chris is great.
Chris Garver.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so because I, you know, enjoy having a teacher, and that's how well I learn well with the teacher. I did look for somebody to teach, and I had a wonderful friend. His name is Tay Herrera, amazing engraver. He engraved a lot of motorcycles for Jesse James, and he still does some of his guns and stuff. Tay Herrera's an incredible engraver. But we had this connection on metal, because he would engrave metal, but I would etch metal. I would etch the metal on the motorcycle. So in my paint jobs,
what's the difference?
The difference is with engraving, you're actually going in and you're removing metal, whereas etching, you're just touching, you're just scratching the surface. Yeah. So I would etch through the paint and make these, like that piece behind you, like imagine that the white was all metal. That's kind of like what it would be.
Yeah.
Something like that, similar. But anyhow, he says he invited me out to the show in Long Beach at the Queen Mary, and they don't think they have this bike show anymore. But he invited me out. He says, "Hey, come on out here, vend with me. I'll have my engravings. You'll have your etchings. We'll hang out. We'll do a show together." I says, "Cool, I'll come out." Came out. I had a girlfriend out here that I went to college with, and stayed with her and her husband, and fell in love with California. And I was just like, wow, this is really nice. And I says, "Tay," I said, "You know, I've been thinking about learning how to tattoo." And he goes, "Oh yeah." He goes, "Well, I got a guy that I know, and if you want to learn a tattoo, you got to go talk to this guy.
Uh-oh.
He's the best in Orange County." And I says, "Oh, well, sign me up. You know, let's go meet him." And he says, I says, "Well, I'm leaving on this day." And he says, "Okay, I could take you to the airport. We'll stop by the tattoo shop on our way." I'm like, "Okay." And I go into the tattoo shop, the Ink House, Franco's old shop, and Franco's at the front, and Franco's never at the front. Franco, if you know Franco, Franco's always around. He's always around. He's like a unicorn. He's somewhere. He's around, but he's never at the front, standing there just like waiting.
At this time was Franco who Franco is now? I mean, was he that big in the tattoo industry back then? Because you mentioned his name. I mean, it's a first name basis now.
Franco Vescovi, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, Franco's always been Franco. You know, I think Franco was big then, but I think maybe he's bigger now. You know, because he's much more worldwide.
Yeah.
With the Bishop Rotary and stuff.
Right.
He's much more known all around the world with a lot of different really amazing artists. So I would say he's probably more well known now. But yeah, I walked in there and
you didn't know who he was then.
I didn't know who he was.
Like,
I just knew that it was gonna be my friend who I trusted and I liked. Said, "This is the guy. This is one of the best shops." And I says, "Okay, cool." So I went in there and I showed him my portfolio, and he looked at my portfolio, and he had seen some of the motorcycles that I did on the show. He had heard about me, and he says, "Yeah." He goes, "I'll teach you how to tattoo."
Wow.
And I says, "Okay." I says, "Well, I need a few months because I got to finish up. I had another big bike I was working on, and I said, I got to finish up this bike. I got to get my money together, and I've got to move, you know." And he says, "Okay." He goes, "Well, just stay in touch. Here's my email." And I was like, "Okay, cool." And there's like part of you where you're like, you got to make it happen now. You know what I mean? It's all on you, you know. You got the chance, you have the opportunity, now you got to follow through. So,
what was the attraction for tattooing? Was it just another a challenge for you, or were you just like, "Oh, this is," you just wanted to do it, you just loved it?
I really felt called. I for sure felt like called, and I also felt like, what are the tattooing and motorcycles. I could go to a motorcycle show and I'm sure I could get jobs. And, at the time, I'm still like scoring jobs, Nowadays, I'm fortunate in that people come to me, for work. But to me, it was like, well, I could go to a bike show and I could get tattoo jobs, and I could go to a tattoo job and I might be able to get some motorcycle jobs. So it's like, this is like a nice little sandwich here, Like to me, I was like,
yeah, you created a market for yourself, totally.
And to me, I also didn't think that tattooing would take so much of my life. I really just thought it was going to be another like little feather in my hat, But I realized quickly that you're either in it or you're not.
Yeah.
If you want to be a successful tattoo artist, you have to be the same thing. You have to be willing to give all of your time to learning and to perfecting, and you're never done.
Yeah. So I've been at tattoo shops and when they've had apprentices, right?
Yeah.
And I've sometimes I've been at the shop and they're a little rough on those guys.
They are rough,
right?
yeah.
And then sometimes and sometimes guys come in and they know what to expect. They'll have to set up the the guy's chair and all his stuff, and get him set up for his next tattoo appointment, and then the young guy's just sitting there drawing all day, sweeping, going to grab food. Did you have to do that?
Yes, sir, I did.
Oh, okay. So you're so Latisha didn't just have a fast track to success. You had to pay your dues in that realm of the tattoo world.
Yes, I definitely paid my dues, and Franco honored me in that. He says you're gonna pay your dues because that's how you get respect in the industry, and it's true. It's a wonderful industry, and it's a wonderful trade.
Yeah,
trading.
They have tradition.
Yeah.
There's a lot of tradition in tattooing, which I like. It might have changed over the years a little bit, but I think that tradition of, hey, you got to come in and basically serve the shop and make your bones here for a while, and then we'll see what you got.
Yeah, you have to start from where everybody else started. We understand, Latisha, you got your bachelors. We understand you've been on the TV, but
a lot of people wouldn't do that though.
I
right?
don't know. Yeah.
I mean, bachelors, you can teach. You're on TV. You kind of have a way to generate your own money to come in and do that and start from the bottom. Props to you, because I think it takes a lot. Because I think a lot of people would be like, heck no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I think I just knew that that's what it took, because I think even with painting motorcycles, it was like, okay, you're going to go into a shop and you got to wet sand, you got to get down, you're going to get dirty. It was just part of the thing, I think I already knew that it wasn't much of a question of mine, they weren't mean to me. I definitely had a few moments. We had a very big shop. We had 16 artists in our shop.
Wow.
Our shop was huge. And we had artists from all different genres, all different styles, all different backgrounds. So, they weren't all, nice to me. But Franco took care of me, and he treated me like a sister, and he still does, And the shop had its ups and downs, but we learned a lot from our older shop, and now we're in our newer shop that's just amazing and wonderful, and it's a safe haven for a lot of artists, and it's definitely a platform and a inspiration, for a lot of people. And that's one thing that I would say that Franco, has instilled in me, and also Lexi, who was his first apprentice, was just to create that place where people can shine. Yeah. We're not here to knock you down.
Yeah.
We're here to help each other,
Which is totally different than most of the world thinks, right? In right. Professional aspects of things. It's like, you don't want to help that person because she's really good at art, and maybe she'll be better than me. But in the tattoo world, I've learned that it's not really, or in the artist world, artists tend to they keep little tricks here and there, for sure. But they lend a helping hand, and they're open to helping one another and just fostering a new generation of artists coming up.
Yeah, definitely. I would say that with our studio, that's really what we aim for, is that we want to be able to help you succeed. We want to be able to give you the tools that you need to succeed, get you pumped, get you excited. Don't go in the bad, wrong way. Yeah. Go where you can have a future. Go where you can do good things. And not every shop is obviously going to have that. And if anybody ever comes to me and talks to me or asks me, what to do or how to get started or that kind of thing, I always tell them, you go to a shop that's going to treat you good. Yeah. You just go to a shop that's going to treat you good. You're going to find one. You're going to find a ton of them that aren't going to treat you good, but you're going to find one that will treat you good. So you just got to be willing to look,
search. Mm-hmm. And being a female in the artist world, what is that? How does that go? Because there's not a lot of females in that scene.
Yeah, I'm learning this. I'm kidding. We say I'm like a zebra at the zoo, what is that? No, I don't know. I think if a girl wants to get into doing tattooing, she should do it. But you just want to make sure that you're always let your art be what people come and talk to you about. Let them be inspired by your artwork, who you are, that kind of thing. And don't get lost in all the other things that the world wants you to become or be or that kind of thing. Because that's what happened with me, was that I got lost in trying to be what people expected.
What was that though? What were they? What did you think they were expecting, or what were they expecting?
What I thought that people expected was for you to look a certain way, to have the look, the look.
Was it?
That you want to be the tattoo model, and you want to be on the cover, and you want to look a certain way.
Because there's a lot of female tattoo artists that have to have some sort of look.
Yeah,
right?
And it's totally cool
if it's them.
If
right?
That's, but for me, when you put out too much of your flesh, you're gonna get a lot of flesh looking back, Yeah. And to me, I realized that that you're bringing all the wrong crowd.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, that's really not what you're wanting. But you're thinking that that's what people want, but that's really not what you're wanting. You're just wanting people to come and look at your stuff or look what you're doing, like your style, that kind of thing. But the industry, or a lot of industries, and it's certainly not the tattoo industry, it's the whole world, right?
Yeah.
We put a lot of emphasis on the flesh, and it's a flesh business, tattooing. But I think when we put the emphasis on the flesh, we're gonna get fleshly reward, right?
Right.
And it's not going to get you very far.
And it's hard for church. I mean, it's more accepted now than ever. You have pastors that have tattoos and everything, but there's still a lot of people that give a lot of flack for tattoos.
Yeah.
And what they are, what they represent. I mean, there's a lot of negative things that people say with that, especially from the church.
Yeah.
What do you say to that?
Well, the Lord doesn't judge my flesh. Thank you, Lord. He doesn't. He'll look at my heart, and he'll look at my spirit and where I'm at. But what do I say? God will use any bridge. God will use any bridge to reach people. And he can use the tattoos. He has used the tattoos in my life. I've seen it happen time and time again every day. God will use the visual artistry to bring out the spirit that is in other people and attract people. But, with the tattoos, I've been welcomed. I have had experience where people are like, wow, got a lot of tattoos, But, it's like they're just looking at your flesh.
I think it's more acceptable now, in a lot of places. I remember getting my first tattoo on my arm, and I remember going to the office, and then the owner was like, "Hey, what's that?" And I said, "Oh, it's just Jesus."
Oh, it's just Jesus.
It's just Jesus. That guy. And then, a few months later, I got another one. It is like, and then my boss is like, "Hey,
take it easy."
Yeah, he's like, take it easy. I was like, whatever, we're in construction. Everybody,
right.
And I'm the safety guy at a construction firm. So I'm like in the office and in the field. And I'm like, everybody in the field has tattoos, man. It's, and then, my boss was like, okay, as long as you don't get it on your hands or your neck, can you just not do that one? And I said, sure. Yeah. And then we hire a superintendent, and he gets he's shaved head, and he got a 4-leaf clover on his head. The whole thing, I'm laughing, my boy Drew. But, I think it's changed. And I think it's changed within the church. It's been more mainstream. And I think people are more acceptable for that. I get some people that still, do not mark your body and this and that. Yeah. And they take scripture out of content and they try to, flip it to meet what they're trying to do. And I didn't feel, my advice that I always give people about tattoos, especially in church, I tell, especially young people, always ask me, "Hey, Dave, I want to get a tattoo." Cam's asking me about his tattoo. Cam's dream tattoo, since he was like 4 years old,
Nice.
Yeah, this is what he wants to get one this year. He's going to get one this year, he said. But you know what his dream tattoo was? A tiger with fire.
Yes, yeah.
That was since he was 4 years old. That I don't know why he would say, Dad, I want a tiger with fire. And I was like, really? So lately he was like talking about it, and we were laughing. But I think I always tell young people, like, get something that means something to you.
Yeah.
Think about it. Talk to the artist. Make sure it's not going to conflict with what you want to do in life, career. Don't go get something tattooed on your face and you want to become a lawyer or something like that.
Right. Obvious.
Obvious
stuff. Yeah.
And so think about when you're older. Hey, is that going to match you if it's what you're about? I've known guys that I think have gotten like face tats or neck tats, and they're just like, you can kind of see as they're getting closer to 40 that they're like, maybe I shouldn't have done this. Yeah. And I'm like, I probably should have thought about that a little bit more, But I always tell them, and then obviously pray about it. Pray. Yeah. What is God? If you're feeling good and God's, doesn't tell you to not get it, or you feel good in your spirit about it, then go for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you just don't want to put anything on your body that's not very good. Right?
Yeah.
You want to put good things. It should, when you look at it, it should make your heart feel good.
Right.
That's with me, I always want to do tattoos that are good for their spirit, uplift their heart. If they're ever in a dark place, that they could look at it and it would give them hope or happiness or joy. I never, ever, ever, ever want to put anything on somebody's body that would make them feel anything other than that, right? And I always tell people that should be it should be something that adds to you, right? It benefits you.
Right.
It should never take away from you. And it is true, you want to do something that will have longevity, right? So sometimes that means waiting. You might want to wait. I always say like 25 is a good age. For me, I felt like at 25 I can make pretty well decisions based on who I am and what I want, So that for me, I say 25, but
then you're kind of have some foundation.
Yeah,
in your
you
life,
have some foundation.
Kind of know where you're headed a little bit.
It's a big thing. It's going to be on your body forever. It's going to be with you for a long time. Yeah. So, I don't know. I do tend to do more, meaningful, tattoos, and everybody has their different genre. But with the church, I just would say that, we look at people's spirit and we look at their heart. And that's all we should be looking at, Yeah. That's pretty much it,
I think that's the that's the main thing, Just get to know somebody. Yeah. Get past the tattoos. Get past your thinking on our I wouldn't call it judging, but maybe a misconception sometimes that we do. Yeah. And you get past that, and then you start talking to the person.
I'm sure I've been misjudged, I'm sure I have, and that's fine.
It's funny you say that because sometimes I forget I have tattoos, right? And I think I'm a super nice guy, and so sometimes I'm like, I'm walking at the mall and I'm with my wife, and maybe a guy's mad dogging a little bit, and I'm like, it's like, well, what's that guy's problem? Or somebody's watching me a little bit too hard, and I'm just like, and then my wife goes, like, do you realize like that you have tattoos and sometimes people think things? And I was like, I know, but I don't think of myself like that. I don't think of myself like, it's tattoos. This is my wife. This is Jesus, the kids. Yeah. And I'm like, that's it. And then she's like, no, but sometimes people get a misconception and just think like, oh, this guy must be from somewhere or must be from.
It's wild, isn't it? Weird that it speaks. I'll tell you a real quick, funny story of how I deal with that sometimes. So baby showers, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure you haven't been to too many, but I have.
I try to avoid them.
Yeah. Baby showers, they're fun. They're so much fun. But oftentimes, if I'm going to a baby shower, I'll usually wear my sleeves.
Really?
I'll cover up, right? I'll go around. I'll let myself shine. Just, hi, hello, meet, shaking hands, talking with people, hang out for a while, get to know everybody, and then you take off your sleeves, and everybody goes, oh. And they're like, whoa. Oh, but now, the barriers are down.
Yeah,
they know me. And now they're like, oh, wow. Oh, what's that? And then it's like, it's fun.
Right.
You know?
I think
that's a good little trick.
That is a good trick.
Cover them up, let people meet you.
Right.
And then let them see, you know.
I think that's a perfect, like, life lesson, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of like for everything. We kind of judge the book by its cover before we, you know, we just try to make it. I mean, it's natural sometimes.
Right.
We just, things pop in our head and we're like, oh man, maybe I should watch it over there. Or, let me get my purse. You know what I mean?
It's a survival. It's actually a natural survival.
Let me hide my goods. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we do get that, but I think yeah, that's pretty good that you do that, because I think once you get to know people, talk to them. Because I've had it the other way around, where somebody's seen my tattoos and I'm just like, and they're just like looking at me, and I'm thinking like, I'm a super nice guy, man. I go to church. I love my family. I work hard.
Yeah.
Like, I think you'd like me. But then they're kind of like just tripped out for a half second. And then as the party goes on or the gathering goes on, and they get to know me, and I'm making jokes, and they're just like, yeah, we're just totally two different people. That's when I like it the most.
Yeah.
When you get like somebody that has no tattoos and you're sitting at the same table and you're just having a blast.
Yeah.
That's
for
when
sure.
it's like, that's what it has.
Oh, yeah. It's
Yeah,
so
that's
fun.
pretty cool.
I love bringing people out of their shell, or that's one of my favorite things to do. Like, oh, quiet person, yay. I want to find out all about you. Oh, you have no tattoos? Perfect.
What was the first tattoo you did?
The first tattoo I did was a skull with a bandana, and I'm smoking a cigar. Yeah, I mean, official tattoo. The first time I actually hit skin, I had tattooed myself. And Franco told me, no, stop doing that, don't do that. I was like, you know, I was just excited. I got my machines, and I was like, oh, man.
So there's like, okay, you have to practice on people.
You do. Nowadays, these young, wonderful apprentices these days, they get these, it's called fake flesh, or it's like a pound of flesh, actually, shout out. But they have, it's like it's not a real person, obviously. It's so you can practice and you get to know it, but obviously it's not the same thing. But in my days, yes, I had to practice on people. Franco, he made sure that I tattooed people, you know, that didn't mind knowing that you got a little learning tattoo artist here,
Right.
you know. So I tattooed a lot of MMA guys,
Okay.
and that don't mind a little rough tattoos. The rougher they are, the happier they are, because they just want to look mean, you know.
Right.
So I had this whole crew of wonderful fighter guys that would come in and get tattooed by me and let me practice on them. And I took to it pretty naturally. I took to it pretty well, you know, just came pretty well. But you know, you got to learn. You got to learn all the techniques. You got to learn the quickness. You got to learn different needles, different groupings,
Lines.
lines. You gotta
I mean,
learn
lines kill it, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
what separates good tattoo artists to me.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
when the lines are crooked or
lines and shading.
shading.
Some people
Because you can do it totally backwards, right? I mean, you can shade,
go too much.
yes,
and then
too much, and there's no going back.
no going back. Yeah. So Franco always taught me, like, to go start
Go
off
light.
Go light. Start light. You can always continue on and add on, you know, but you can never take back what you put in if you went too dark or that kind of thing. So he definitely taught me that fine line specialty, which I'm very happy and grateful to have. And I love it. It's just such a beautiful tattoo style.
Explain that style for those out there. It is kind of like it's like a West Coast California style, right?
Yeah, fine line, black and gray tattooing. It's just a beautiful, wonderful, delicate. I mean, obviously you can probably see like a lot of the work that I have is it fine line, smooth black and gray shading, and it takes a finesse. It takes time, you know, to get that skin ready to receive. You're not just throwing it in. You're working that skin to get that nice smooth gray and you know, getting those nice solid blacks. So you know, get in there really good. And it is a wonderful whole genre, you know, which if you really want to get into it, you can go back into the prison days. Right. This is where it really was founded, was back in the prison days, and the guys that came out of prison and then got jobs on the street.
Yep.
Jack Rudy,
Yeah.
one of the big fine line godfathers. Pioneers, yes. And all the way back, you've got your Mr. Cartoon, which is his
most famous.
one of the most famous. If anybody knows black and gray, fine line black and gray, you could think of Mr. Cartoon. And now, it's definitely branched and it's gotten over to Europe. And I think of Mako in Italy, who's just killing it, man. These guys are killing it.
It's so crazy that it just spread, right?
Yeah.
It spread, from, SoCal area and just all over the world,
Yeah.
that style.
Yeah.
Do you think at one time that style was like proprietary, like this is our stuff. You can't do it unless you're from here.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it was. I don't know. I know that it definitely is. It's like a birthright for sure.
Right.
Like it really is. I mean, being that I learned it here, I'm from here. I would say I am an OG. I would say that because I came from the branches. You
Right.
know what I mean?
The lineage is there.
The lineage is there.
We talk about lineage
Yeah.
in jiu-jitsu, like when guys say, well, what gym do you come from? I roll at this gym.
Right.
And they go, well, who's your instructor? My instructor's Javi. Well, what's his lineage? Well, he's from the Horion Gracie and then he comes from Caesar Gracie. So the lineage is huge too. Like
Yeah.
if you can trace back, like, well, who taught you?
Yeah.
Franco.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah. Exactly.
So you got your pass.
Yes. For
It's
sure.
like here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been wonderful. And then I think because Franco has done the Bishop Rotary, that is another lineage. Bishop Rotary is, the machines that he is putting out, they will make your life a lot easier, I will tell you.
Right.
Yeah.
I've seen them
Yeah.
in action, and I was like, "What the heck is that?"
Yeah.
Because you're used to going to the shop and seeing the original type machines, and then you see his, and they're revolutionary.
Yeah, they're really cool. And I mean, I can put in some work, without the, hold on, let me just,
Adjust it.
hold
do
on,
that.
let me,
Yeah.
I mean, I can put in hours. I have put in so many hours, my neck hurts. But it's an endless well,
Right. Your why was this the black and gray style? Do you think you just adapted that style because you went to Franco, or is there any other style that kind of catches your eye a little bit? I mean, obviously you do lettering too, but which is a whole genre in its own. You have to be really good at that. But
yeah, I mean, I would say I definitely have adapted that style in being that Franco taught me for sure, because my black and gray portfolio just was keep them coming. That's where that's me. That's where I grew up. That's where I am. That's just part of my life. That's where I'm at. I do love color. I love some color.
so are you good at color?
Yeah, I love color.
Yeah,
I would
because
say
there's
I'm
some
good at color.
there's some artists that would be like, I don't do color.
No, I love color. I'll do some color any
Wow.
day. Yeah, for sure.
Those
But-
old painting days when you used to mix yellow
Yeah,
and red and make orange. Like, yeah, I can blend that.
the illustration. I love getting into color. I think because I did start with the black and gray foundation, that my black and gray portfolio just overshadows my color.
Yeah.
So I really have to seek out the color, but when I get them, oh man, I just love it. It's awesome. I am a little bit more. I love black and gray, and these are the reasons why.
I want to hear.
This is educational for
Yeah,
all you
heck
people.
yeah.
Okay, so black and gray will age well together consecutively.
I agree, yeah.
It will. It will. Take good care of it.
Yeah.
Wear your sunblock, that kind of thing. Color will age also, but some colors are going to drop out quicker than other colors. So your yellows and your oranges, those are all going to
Right.
fall out. Your purples and your blues, those are going to stay. So some of your color, some of it will drop out. You know what I mean? So
Right.
It's not going to age as well. But I mean,
And color doesn't look good on darker skinned people.
Yeah.
I'm a little dark, especially when summer comes. I get a little dark, and I see sometimes people are my skin tone and they get color. When they're really fair skin and they get color, that thing pops.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Right?
Yeah, for sure. I think a sun protecting yourself from the sun is 100%, hands down, the best thing you could do for black and gray or for color.
Right.
Black and gray will fade also.
Yeah.
But it will fade cohesively.
Yeah.
So anyhow, that's another reason why I'm a little bit. I love to do the black and gray with little pops of color. You know what I mean? So like a beautiful black and gray, and say it's a rose. You do a nice beautiful red rose.
Yeah.
Black and gray, all the other kind of things. So that's I enjoyed that. But I mean, all of it's great, But I for me, for the most part, I'm always looking out for the benefit of what's going to be good for you in the longevity of your life and having this artwork on your body,
Do clients come in and have these elaborate ideas and you're just like, that's not going to work? And they kind of just like, why not?
Yeah. No, you definitely have people come in with lots of ideas.
Yeah.
And then you have to tell them, okay, let's come down. Okay.
Like a tiger with fire.
Like a tiger with fire, yeah. That's a great idea. I just did one recently, actually. And then my question would be, do you want color, right?
Right.
Or do you want a black and gray? Or do you want a little bit of black and gray, a little bit of color, But anyhow, with what was your question you said?
The clients that come in with these elaborate ideas.
Yeah, the big idea people, what you want to do is so say they have 20 ideas and they're ready to get their whole body, right? They're like, I want my whole body. I want this over here. I want this over here. And I want this. I say, okay, what are your top 3?
Right.
I say, okay. And they tell me my top 3. And then I say, okay, which of those 3 can you not live without? Which one of those can you not live without? And then like, oh, this one. And I'm like, okay, let's start there.
Yeah.
And then it happens. Because what's wonderful about getting tattooed and getting, work is that it's an organic experience, And this is what I've learned from being a tattoo artist is that it's organic. It happens. Some things change. You got this whole idea set up, but you get working on it, and then you're like, you know what? Oh my gosh, I just had this experience, or I just got this word or whatever, and I want this. I mean, I literally had this experience with my husband. We were going to do this rose. We had all set up. We were going to do this rose on his inner arm. And we were out in Vegas visiting a Hart and Huntington's shop, Carrie Hart's shop, and we're sitting at breakfast, and we're eating, and he's like, you know what I'm thinking? And I says, what? He goes, I think I want to do Jesus instead of the rose. And I'm like, oh, man. I'm like, what? Like,
Yeah.
Like, my husband wants me to do a Jesus tattoo for
Sure.
him. I'm like, bam,
Yeah.
And it just changes like that,
Right.
And I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right. I'm like, okay. All right. And then, then you got to just go with it,
Yeah.
You gotta let it happen. And that's, like you were talking about your experience here is that, you're just going with it. You're seeing what God has for you. And I feel that's a lot with like what I'm doing with my work and with the ink ministry is that it really is the Lord's. For me, it is totally the Lord's. For the longest time, I was always like worried about my schedule and like getting booked and like planning my dates and get so stressed out about, oh, this person can't make it. Who's going to come in the chair?
Right.
And then I started seeing God fill my book and fill up the chair. And I just started like surrendering that over to him because I really realized that he was doing something that I wasn't aware of, So
How did you find Jesus? Speaking of Jesus.
Speaking of the Lord, well, how did I find the Lord?
And I ask this because other than rich people, I think artists have a really hard time finding the Lord.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think rich people, the Bible says it, it's easier for the camel to go through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to see heaven. But I think for artists, I've learned like it's rough sometimes. I think they're so creative. I think they're sometimes act like masters of the universe in a way. You know what I mean? I mean, they just like, but then on the other hand, some of them are like, hey, I realize that God's given me this gift.
Yeah, for sure.
How did you find the Lord?
Well, I definitely was that master of the universe. I was going in that direction, because when you do have an ability that you're like people want what you have,
Right.
You're like, wow, this is you, and you get comfortable with it. You start to realize, okay, I can make my own image, right? I can make who is it that I want people to, what's my brand? Who am I? What is this? So you start to, so that's where I was, and this is where a lot of it is that like, I got into a place where it's like, I was doing very well, wonderfully, with my work and with my career and stuff like that. But I was definitely feeding, the world, I was feeding what the world wanted. I was working all the time. I wouldn't take a day off for like a month, and I was serving myself, but not, you know what I mean? Like I was serving the image that I wanted to be, of who I wanted to be.
Because with success, it's really easy to do that.
Yeah, it's really easy because, everything's just, it is what you want. You're your own boss. You can just do whatever you want, and you just learn tricks to be able to like get what you need out of a situation,
Right.
It's just how it, that's just how it is, get to that place. I don't know if I'm explaining it properly, but I definitely was lost in that I was searching after things in the world that were not satisfying. I was going after the things that you think you're supposed to go after, right? Success and fame and, having the right look, having the nice things.
So you achieve these things.
Living the life.
And still were searching.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was starting to achieve all these things, but I wasn't happy,
It's strange for people to realize that, right? You have the fame, you have the money, you have success. You're working in a great shop. You just and you're still unhappy.
Yeah, I wasn't happy. I was actually really depressed.
Wow.
Yeah, I started developing a real problem trusting people because I had been so like trampled on, but trampled on in that like, because when you're out in the world and you're not protected, you're going to get trampled on. And it's not just that physically I got trampled or whatever. It was that I was spiritually getting trampled on. You know what I mean? And I was a single girl, I had dated, people that I trusted that I thought would be good for me. They don't want nothing from you. It's just the flesh. It's just, it ain't going nowhere. And you think in your mind, actually, I don't think you're even thinking. You're just going along in life, and then you're thinking, well, this isn't going very well. Definitely, you're so walking.
Is this all there is?
You're so walking in the dark. It's been 8 years since I gave my life to the Lord, and I definitely had that born again experience where when I look back at my life before the Lord, it's like a whole different person.
Wow.
I try and remember, but it really is. It's like you're looking at a different person. But anyhow, I was very depressed because I realized that I had been doing everything that I thought was right, but I wasn't happy, And I knew that there was more to life. I knew that, like, what am I doing all this for? What are those beautiful art for? If it just gets dusty and one day when I die, it becomes somebody's something,
Wow.
Like I was getting into that place where I was like, what's going to happen to me when I die? What am I doing this for? I've moved all the way across the country, away from my family, to pursue a career, chasing after Latisha Wood and some dream that California and all of its glitz and glamour and beauty is California and Hollywood. And
Which
all
so
that.
many people have that same mentality, our dream, right? And they come here
you come here and you realize that it's a facade. It's the dream is, the hope is in heaven. It really is, you know. And I became depressed. I'd go to the shop, I'd tattoo, I'd come home, go to sleep. Go to the shop, tattoo, go home, go to sleep. And then I realized, and I was just thinking a lot, like, what is life all about? What's this for? Wow. And, you know, I would look at a lot of different things like meditation and Buddhism, and just what's gonna happen when we want to die?
What's gonna work? What'll change me here?
Well, not even
searching.
Not what would change me. I wanted to know, when I die, where am I going?
What a heavy question, right? I think people think, like, is there an afterlife? But you're like, where?
Yes.
You know, like, when I die, where am I going?
Because I love life. I loved life. I loved life, even though I wanted to know. I knew inside my heart that there was something more. I really did. I knew that there was something more to life than just a fun experience, a fun party. Oh wow, you have a great legacy. Like, there's something more. There's got to be something more, that when I die, it's not just like, oh, well,
right.
You know. So those questions really got me thinking a lot. But also, like I said, I was depressed, and I was just kind of like, I felt like something bad was going to happen to me. I really did. And I don't know if it was the devil or what, but I felt a dark presence following me. And I'd be driving in my car, and I'd be like, what if I got into a car accident? Who'd come to my funeral? You know, like, I just got into this weird place of, like, just wanting to know, like, I felt, and then I remember a few times going home, and I'd go home and I'd feel like somebody was there, even though nobody was there. So I had this dark presence definitely following me around, and I had a few dreams where I would wake up, and I would see this dark presence, like, in my dream, and then I remember this one time I woke up from the dream, and I was laying in the same place that I was in my dream, and I was like, get out of here, leave me alone.
Whoa.
Like, I was literally like, I knew something was up, you know? And then I had a wonderful friend. Like I said, I wasn't very trusting. I wasn't, like, letting people over my house or anything like that. I wasn't a huggy person. My walls were I was really starting to build up those walls.
Get higher and higher.
Yeah. I was very much like, who can I trust? I didn't feel like I could trust anybody. I didn't feel like, you know, anybody was really looking out for my best interest, you know? And here I am, I'm all the way out in California, and I do have this wonderful group of people that love me. But I know we're all in the world, you know?
Yeah. Nobody can really understand you.
Nobody understands, you know? So, another thing, the reason why I was going in this dark place was that I had a cyst in my breast, which it turned out not to be anything. But in my mind, I was like, oh my gosh.
Mine's running wild.
What if this is something, you know? So that's where that was really what, like, got my mind really thinking, like, what happens if I die, you know? But I had a wonderful friend, my friend Kimberly, who was the one lady that I trusted. She would come in and she would help me take care of. I had these bearded dragons, and she would come in and she'd take care of them when I went to my conventions, or we'd go to, like, London, or we'd go to, like, Pasadena or something, and she'd come in and she'd take care of them for me. And she was just a sweet lady. Wonderful Christian lady, and she was the one lady that I trusted and I loved, and I felt that pure, sweet happiness, you know. And one day I says, hey, she would talk about her church. She would drop her kids off at the church so she could go grocery shopping, you know. Yeah. And her kids love the church, right? And I says, you know, I really like to go to church with you sometime. And she's like, oh my gosh. Yeah, oh my gosh, you have to come. Oh my gosh. Wow. And I says, you think they're gonna, like, should I cover up my tattoos? And she's like, no. Oh my gosh, they're gonna love you. She's like, people in our band have tattoos. And I'm like, you have a band? Like, what? So I went, and I did cover up my tattoos. I don't want to be a distraction to people, so I did cover up my tattoos. But they were the most wonderful people.
Wow.
I walked in and they just hugged. They give me hugs. Who are you? What's your name? Can I get you a coffee? And I was like, I felt that love.
Which is crazy
right?
because you were a person that didn't trust anybody,
Yeah.
and we're just building these walls, and right away it seemed like they started coming down.
Oh yeah, it was just beautiful. I felt the love of the Lord.
Genuine.
Yeah. And I walked in and I got saved that day.
Wow.
I didn't realize what was happening. But I do know that it was like the whole room was empty and the lights were shining on me, and he was answering all those questions. He was answering
Amazing.
all those questions that I had been wrestling with and like trying to figure out, and I felt so amazing. I'm telling you, when I got saved, the Lord just put so much love in my heart that I felt this warmth inside me that like lasted for like probably a month.
Wow.
And I'm telling you, like, I would see like flowers differently. I would see my little niece. I would look at her with like so much beauty and so much happiness, and I just had such a refreshing life and views. Like the scales were gone, and I could actually see.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you had the experience.
Oh yeah, I was definitely born again. Definitely.
The encounter. That's what I always talk about.
Yeah, I had the encounter, and I was so amazed at what I learned in that one day that I was hungry. I only got to go to church on one Sunday, and then I ended up having a trip to go see my family, which was wonderful. Thank you, Lord. I got to go see my family. Like I said, I saw my niece, and I was like, oh my gosh. I was just so hugging everybody, and I was just so happy.
Did they ask you, hey, what's going on? Did you see some change here?
No, I don't think so. I don't think they saw right away because, they don't see me all the time.
Right.
They don't see me all the time. So, but I remember being in bed at night and trying to find the website to the church and looking for the sermons and putting it in my ear at night and listening. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then I found Chuck Smith.
Yeah.
The wonderful Chuck Smith, he passed away before I got saved, but
Chuck Smith, Cam.
Yeah.
Me and Cam used to listen to him every day coming home from picking him up at school.
Yeah, I found him, and I got to I fell in love with the Bible. I fell in love with learning God's word, and growing in my faith and learning and starting to go to church, and then I was going to different churches, and I don't know, like if I can go to church every day of the week, I'd be totally fine with it. So. I just fell in love with everything that God had for me, and I just was like beaming. And then I realized it was like, I don't know, a few months, and I realized, oh, not everybody knows that Jesus is real. Oh crap! And like, he's not just a painting on a wall.
Right.
He's a living God. He's a God that you can go on a hike with, and walk with, and talk with, and he could be your best friend, and your savior. And so it was kind of like a wild experience I'm sure the guys at the shop were probably like, whoa, but, because I went from listening to, gangster rap and all different kinds of music, and then it was like worship music, and they're like,
what's going on?
Jesus, girl. But I was full of the Holy Spirit. Yeah.
And then I've seen your ministry, Ink Ministry, which to me, there's a couple intimate times you have with people, right? With, I would say like a barber has it, but it's a lot shorter than a tattoo.
Yeah.
Right? But when you're tattooing somebody for 3, 4, 5, maybe 8 hours, you really get to know that person and see what they're about and able to share your faith. And there might be some vulnerability because of the tattoo and its meaning, and you kind of share stuff. I mean, I always think it's like it's a perfect time. right?
Yeah.
To share your faith,
Yeah.
and to get to know somebody, and then they kind of open up to you.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I'm pretty like open about my faith, right? And I feel like I totally give it to the Lord. I have to give it to the Lord. I give it to the Lord all the time because there's so much that people want to share. There's some people that are different different levels of spiritual growth or maturity or that kind of thing. So I give it all to the Lord, and it's just a ministry. It's an awesome opportunity. I've been so fortunate to have so many years just being a tattoo artist, doing tattoos and learning people, and then now being a tattoo artist, learning people and having God's help with all of it, because I know that like there's so much power in getting a tattoo that is meaningful to somebody. So for me, it's such an honor. It's an incredible honor to be able to work with people. Like when I get people's emails and they're telling me these stories, I mean, I could go through my Instagram and tell you one by one, like what their stories are. And, but it is so fun. It is so fun. And I mean, it could be something as simple as a butterfly tattoo, because it is just a picture, but what is the picture underneath the tattoo? What is going on within? And this is the bridge that God will walk through, right? Because it's incredible what that can do for people, because so I just recently did, just for a good example, is I recently did a tattoo from a friend of mine who he lost his sister. She had an alcohol problem, and she did know the Lord. She had a relationship with God, but ultimately her alcoholism brought her to a place in which she was murdered, unfortunately, sadly. But he got this beautiful tattoo. She loved peach roses. So we did a beautiful peach rose, and we did scripture. I think it was 1 John 10:25, I think. But it's basically, it says that if you have accepted Christ, if Christ lives in your heart, then you're going to live in eternity. So this is his beautiful, he lost his sister years ago, but this is his beautiful reminder to him every day when he carries that pain and that burden of having lost his sister in such a horrific way. And, the hole that it puts in the family, right? It's a great opportunity for him to hold that close to his heart, and that reminder that God reminds us, that promise, right, from heaven, So it's just stuff like that, That's just one of many, But it's just the coolest thing.
It's a real personable connection.
Yeah.
To people.
Yeah.
And I think people don't realize it. I think because I have a lot of uncles that have old school, tattoos that some of them don't have. I always bang on one of my uncles. He has this half naked girl, and he's a man of God, right?
Yeah.
But they don't mean anything. They just have it. But then there's something about when you have something and it's meaningful. I like when people look at my Jesus and they're just like, ooh, look at that. Or are they looking at my wife? Is that your wife? Yes, that's my wife. And sometimes we're just together and they're like,
yeah.
They're looking at the tattoo and looking at the wife and they're like, that's her, huh? And I was like, yeah. So a lot of good things come from that.
Yeah.
I mean,
not every tattoo I do is going to be this deep, thing, but God will still use it.
Yeah.
That's why everything to me is ink ministry. Everything is ink ministry because God is with me. I pray for everybody I tattoo, whether I pray with them out loud or I pray within my heart, praying over people that I work with, because why wouldn't I?
Right.
You know what I mean? I take the opportunity to bless them, and some people don't know the Lord. Some people do, and I know that God's got them in my chair for a reason. Right. And that's exciting.
I always think like you just plant the seed, right? Maybe you don't lead them to the Lord.
Yeah.
But maybe they see Latisha and you plant a little seed, and then maybe they go and they
Yeah.
They see a family member or a person at work, and,
Yeah.
and they know the Lord, and they water the seed a
Most
little bit. You know what I
definitely.
mean? There's always time to. You might not see the end product, but you
Yeah.
had a part in that.
Yeah, and there's a power in your testimony. I'll share my testimony with people, because when they hear your testimony, that's my true life story. That's my living story. I'll tell them testimony of my husband, who has an incredible testimony, and I think that alone is just. And the Bible tells us too, it's just power in your testimony. You tell people your story, and they're just like, wow.
Yeah.
And you let God do the work, And
Right.
what's really cool is that a lot of the people that I do get to work with, well, they're coming back. So we get to build. I've got so many great friends that I've made through tattooing that, we get to make friendships, and I get to follow them and see how they're doing in their life, and see God moving. And if you're looking for God, you'll find him.
Right.
You will. If you look and see where are the blessings, that's where the Lord is at.
And the peace, right? I talk to a lot of artists, and I won't put them on blast on here, but there's sometimes when they reach out and they ask me a question, or they ask me for prayer, or they need some encouragement, and I'm blessed to be able to be used by that, because a lot of these artists sometimes are just like amazing artists and people, and I'm a big art lover, so that I'm like man, Lord, use me, just I'm not an artist, I'm just an art lover, and you put me in this realm of these artists, and I'm able to let my light shine, or encourage them, or just say I'm praying for you. Or they ask me a question, or they call me about a tattoo they're doing. Is this right? This guy wants Psalms, and it's not spelled with an S, right? At the end.
Yes, I know. That's always the question.
Right.
It's like, is it Psalm or Psalms?
What does that little sign above Jesus on the cross mean, Dave? Or some stuff like that,
That's really cool.
Yeah, so it'd be always something. And I always thank the Lord, like, man, Lord, you use that. But I think, I think we get caught up sometimes that God uses just our talent, and that's like your ministry, the ink ministry. The ink ministry is actually a ministry, and I think people get caught up where they think they have to start a ministry, or make this. It's not even that. The ministry is just basically every day. I'm using what God gave me. Yeah. In your case, your art. In my case, my voice. Or my connections, and we're able to use what God gave us to minister and be there for people, be a beacon.
And your spiritual gifts, Yeah. That's a wonderful thing. When I was still going to church, they started talking about spiritual gifts. I'm like, what are my gifts? I want to know.
Yeah.
I have the gift of encouragement, for sure, And then the Bible says, if you have the gift of encouragement, encourage well. So I remember reading it first time. I was like, encouragement, like whatever. I want something. What else? And then I heard it again. If you have the gift of encouragement, encourage well. It means go out and be an encourager.
Yeah. It's huge.
I would imagine maybe hospitality is something that you.
Hospitality is big. We like people. Me and my wife. We like people to feel comfortable when they come to church. We want them to feel love. We want to be like, hey, man, this is huge. I preach hospitality. Like me and my buddy were talking, Johnny, and one day we were like, there's people coming in. Like, we're always talking to one another. Like, maybe we should stop that a little bit and look for some new people. And get them in there. So definitely hospitality. There's a lot of little talents. I mean, it's funny because I knew this for a long time, and God gave me the gift of discernment, but I had this pastor come up to me, and he flat out told me, he goes, God giving you, and I didn't know this guy, but he gave me a good word, and he's like, you have a gift, and you have this thing, and he said this during church. He's like, you have the BS meter, and at first I was like, BS. Like, I don't got a bachelor's, or I don't got, and he's like, no, you have the spirit of discernment, but you can tell. And I was like, and my wife's like squeezing my hand, like, that's all you, so it's funny. And I was like, okay, Lord, I guess that's my gift.
That's a great gift.
I think it's great for men.
Yes.
Right? When I talk to men, and not to say that I'm looking for something negative, but I can tell, like, this guy is not telling me the truth or not telling me the whole truth. And hey, you know what? Listen, you know, like, you want to get to the root of the issue, we got to get to the root of the issue here.
Yeah.
You know, so I think the Lord uses that. You know, and one thing about gifts that the Lord gives you is like I'm not saying they're like powers, but it's actual gift, and you gotta use it wisely. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you gotta glorify Him.
Right.
It's not about me. It's like, Lord, you give me this gift. I'm honored.
Yeah.
And like your art, you know, I'm sure you're like, whew, like, thank you for this. You know.
Yeah. No, definitely. And for me, with that gift of encouragement, because once I really kind of accepted it, instead of wanting to move on for the other gifts, once I finally accepted it, I says, okay, all right, I'm going to encourage well. And then this year I've been partnering with seeing purpose in people and seeing what their purpose is, you know, their purpose in life is, right? But then encouraging them in their purpose. Because people really, like, they want to know where to go, what to do,
right?
You know, and I am a visionary in that, you know, you want to do this, this is how we're gonna do it. You know what I mean? So I'll have that ability too, but like, not everybody has that ability to visualize. Like, I want to be a firefighter. Well, okay, this is what you have to do. You have to do this, this, and this, and you know, and I'll use examples like my brother's a firefighter. You know what I mean? Like, to encourage people, and God will give you that, like, that understanding of like, oh, this girl, she's a nurse, and she's doing well, you know. God led her to become this nurse, and she loves it, you know. Encourage her in that, even though she comes in and she's exhausted. She finally gets to sit down because she works all the time, you know. I get a lot of people that sitting down getting tattooed is the only time. Moms, the only time they get to sit down for longer than 2 minutes. You know what I mean?
Right.
So they come in and, you know, I want to encourage them that they're doing the right thing, you know, like they're living in their purpose.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the biggest thing, is for us to all find that purpose in our life, and not for ourselves, right?
Right.
But for the Lord, and like what God wants to do with us, because it's incredible when you're living in your purpose. You know?
Yeah, I think everybody's searching for that purpose. I think that's the problem when you're young, right? You're like, where do I go? What's my purpose in life? I don't know yet. When you find it, you'll know. And even my purpose has changed over the years. I'm 48 years old. It's changed, and I'm like, Lord, every time you were there. Yeah. So you know, you've not taken it, but you moved me past this. Now I'm over here.
Yeah.
And I feel like, man, you're calling me to do this, and you move me over here, and then you move.
And He equips you.
So, and He equipped us.
He equips you each time you make a move, you know, because you're learning something along the way. That's how I felt for me, is that like each time I had a different chapter in my life, God was further equipping me for the next chapter, you know. Right. And I'm excited about the next chapter, right? You know, it's like
it never
ends.
Exciting,
yeah.
Constantly evolving.
Yeah, you're growing, you know. And for me, it's like I want to grow. I want to have that natural transition in the day that I do go, you know, to be with the Lord.
Right.
I want to have that natural transition. You know, I want to be like Enoch, where you just
caught up,
just walk up into heaven, like nice smooth walk.
It'd be nice.
So
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing your story.
Oh yeah, you're welcome. Thanks
so
for
cool
having me.
for coming out. Yeah. I mean, we got to meet the great Latisha Wood.
Hey, here I am.
Give us some words of advice and purpose and how she found the Lord and art. Last question for you.
Yeah.
Any advice to a young person out there that wants to become an artist, period?
A young person that wants to be an artist, I would say you go for it. Go for it. Do it, you know. Put in the time. Don't be afraid of criticism. Accept criticism. But also get criticism from people that know, you know, have something to teach you, you know. For me, seeking out a good teacher, you know, is really, really important. But yeah, put in the time. Don't be afraid to try different things, try different elements, you know, and just have fun, you know. Nowadays you have YouTube, right? You can learn so much, but I would say just be willing to mess up. Start small. Don't do these giant big things because you're gonna get overwhelmed. You know, start small. Get that get it in, get that hoorah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then do another, and then, you know, then keep going. And you know, just, if it's something you want to do, just don't give up, you know? I never gave up. I don't think I ever thought about giving up. But I think that never giving up is a big part, you know, making wise choices. You know, for me, it was not going out sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Keeping your hands busy.
Sacrifice.
There's a sacrifice in everything that we do. Right. So I think just spending a lot of time with it. Because the more time you give it, the more rewards you're going to get in the long run, you know? And that's the best thing you could do. Because it's going to reward you. It will come back around. It will multiply itself. And then before you know it, it'll be like eating and drinking, you know?
Good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for having me. This is really
awesome.
Cool. Very cool.
Very cool for you to come out. We do one last thing. We do what me and Cam call the Furious Five.
Oh, okay. Yes, the Furious Five.
And I see she watches the show.
I watch
she knows.
The show.
She's waiting for this one.
I was like, oh man, what's he gonna ask me?
Got a few here. Question number 1. With Latisha Wood on the Street Gospel Furious 5. Worst tattoo you ever did?
Worst tattoo I ever did? Oh man. Oh gosh. Can I swear?
I don't care. Go ahead.
And I feel bad, but yeah, this lady, she came in and she wanted crazy bitch tattooed on her butt.
On her butt. And you went for it.
And I did it. Yeah. This is a long time ago. But she wanted crazy written, like nice, like sweet and nice.
Okay.
And then bitch written like all like messy.
Oh man.
Anyways, that's probably the worst tattoo I've ever done.
I don't even want to think what that looks like now, but
a funny tattoo. It's a great one to tell. So that's it.
Question number 2. Most difficult clients to tattoo.
Most difficult clients to tattoo are the ones that just don't know how to stop talking.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, the ones that just can't stop talking, the ones that move a lot, that just move a lot, you know.
A lot of breaks.
Yeah, I don't think I get a lot of people that take breaks. Fortunately, thankfully for that. But yeah, I love talking. I don't mind. I'll get in a good conversation with anybody, anytime. But eventually, you know, you gotta have a little mellow at time. I'm gonna chill. And I don't know what I think it's a lot of anxiety or nervousness that they might have, or I don't know what it is. But some people they don't stop talking, and they talk about everything. They talk about anything and everything. This is I guess the silence is difficult. I don't know. Or moving a lot. Like
it's the worst.
Or the looking.
Could I see it?
You're like, what are you doing? You're trying to do your tattoo.
Oh, God.
But it's all good, you know.
Question number 3. Other than something in art, what would be your dream job?
My dream job? I don't know, maybe traveling the world, I would love to, travel the world, or honestly, just America would be fabulous. Just going to all the parks, working out in the parks, and mostly that's because of my husband, because he loves to get outside, and that would be his dream job. So I would just follow him.
Tag along.
Yeah, I'd be like, okay.
He's like, I'm going to be the star of the family now. Let's follow me around.
Yeah, I would follow him to all the parks, and we would pick up sticks and take pictures of birds. I don't know. I don't know. We'd camp and, off-road and all that fun stuff.
Oh, so you got some other hobbies besides art.
For sure. Yeah, love hiking and camping and climbing mountains. We've got some beautiful state parks here that are just incredible. Go to Hawaii,
I love Hawaii.
Live out in Hawaii.
Be awesome.
Anything in Hawaii would be good. I'm looking
There you go.
to take applications, you know. As long as I'm outside.
Right.
Being outdoors.
All right.
Yeah.
Question number 4 on the Street Gospel Furious 5. Any future goals?
Future goals, I would love to do a children's books. That's really been on my heart a lot lately. I'd love to do some things for kids.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'd love to do some children's books, but some stuff that kids can learn about love, joy, peace.
Be a full circle to back when you first started college, right?
Yes, exactly.
Be awesome.
I would love that. I think it's already planted. It's already starting to flourish inside. So
Right.
I could see doing some children's books in my future, you know, that would help kids these days and teach the young ones about, you know, loving God and loving each other and
That'd be awesome.
growing in their just goodness, you know.
Last question. Number 5. If you could tattoo anybody, past, present, anybody, who would you tattoo?
In the world, can I tattoo Jesus? Is that cool?
Hey. What would you tattoo on Jesus?
The King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, right on his thigh, right?
I have my good friend Axis. He actually, on the down low, he tattoos at Bob Roberts Spotlight.
Oh, okay,
So
cool.
Axis is a great. I mean, he's one of the best artists I know. Paints,
Oh wow, that's
graffiti,
really cool. Yeah.
tattoos. I went to his studio one day and he had this one of the coolest paintings and the small little details. That's what he's about too.
Yeah.
And it was Jesus wrestling in a WWE type setting. Satan, right?
Okay, cool.
But Jesus had a tattoo and it said "Mom," and it was the Virgin Mary.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, dude, that little.
The mom tat.
Yeah, that little. It's just like that little detail was so cool.
Yeah.
It was like.
That's cool.
I would never have thought of that, but that was like classic. It was like Mom, and it was a picture of the Virgin Mary. And I was like, dude, that was Mom.
That's cool. So. Well, you know, in the Book of Revelation, it says when he comes back, he'll have King of Kings, Lord of Lords. Written on his robe or his thigh.
His thigh, yeah.
Sure.
See, I always say the thigh.
I would say the thigh because I wouldn't mind being the one that does the tattoo, you know? Just saying.
That'd be awesome.
That would be cool.
So cool. Thank you for coming out. I appreciate
you're welcome.
it.
Thank you for having me.
Such a great time. Anything you want to shout out?
Shout out to the Vatican Studios in Orange County, California, where we love to tattoo every day of the week. And Franco Vescovi for giving this young girl a chance.
Awesome.
For a shout out to Lexi Viatate. Thank you to everybody there, Mondo, my humble neighbor, and just the Bishop Rotary. Love the Bishop Rotary. Been with them forever. And Inkies, who they've been one of my big sponsors, helping me take care of all them wonderful tattoos, all that sunblock. But yeah, that would be it. And my husband, of course, he's my hero.
Nice.
Champion. So yeah.
Nice. Appreciate you coming out.
Oh, thank you.
That'll conclude this episode of the Street Gospel Podcast with Latisha Wood. Be sure to check her out on the gram. You can check her out at Latisha Wood, or you can check her out, her ministry at Ink Ministry. Thank you. Appreciate you guys. Talk to you later.